All right, well, hello everyone. Welcome to the very first edition of Trent's Takes. This is going to be my review session of the Ridgeview's Redemption Fantasy Football League. I'm your host, Trent Young. I know I don't know about half the league, but it's a pleasure meeting you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. Our very first matchup, we had the Ben Gomez's ran by Cody Young against the Silent Assassins, which was Christian's team. Um, Cody had some kind of really crappy quarterback play. He had Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston. They combined for just over 20 points this week, which is really bad for two quarterbacks. He also has Marcus Mariota on his bench, so that's going to be good for him. Maybe Mariota can keep it up. Um, but yeah, he had C.J. Anderson was his star running back. I think he took him in the first round, I believe. And he only had 6.8 fantasy points, not a very solid outing. He also had T.J. Yeldon, who looked okay. And then Bishop Sankey had a really big day for him. Bishop Sankey was actually his leading scorer this week. He had 75 rushing yards and 2 total touchdowns, 22 fantasy points. His wide receivers, he had Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Cooks, and Golden Tate. They all, had okay days. Then there was Nelson Aguilar, who had 1 catch for 5 yards, which is super awful. Hopefully Aguilar can get it going. His tight ends emerged pretty well. He had two young guys in Ladarius Green, Eric Ebron. Um, Now Ladarius Green just had a big day because Antonio Gates is out with that 4-game suspension for using PEDs. But he got some good play out of those two guys. He also had Jarvis Landry, got him 22 points, Wheaton 9, and Alan Hearns got him 6.5. So Hearns actually kind of looked like the target guy to own in Jacksonville instead of Allen Robinson, like everyone has thought so far. Um, on defense, Cody had Kiko Alonso got him 12 points. He had that awesome interception against Johnny's Saints on Monday Night Football, or Saints Falcons on Monday Night Football. Sorry, Johnny. And then he had Telvin Smith got him 15 points. So two good defensive players there. Cody had some solid special teams play. Greg Zerline, his kicker, got him 10 points, and then Anger, the punter for Jacksonville, got him 6. Um, on his bench, he had Carlos Williams from Florida State. He looked pretty solid. He had 11.5 fantasy points, 55 rushing yards, and touchdown. Maybe he'll end up taking over that backfield if LaShawn McCoy can't stay healthy. He also had Marcus Mariota, like I said earlier, on his bench. His redemption for this week is going to have to be if C.J. Anderson can really redeem himself against Kansas City, because he had a really tough matchup against the Ravens. So we'll see how he does against the Kansas City front. Now he ended up beating the Silent Assassins 235 to 218. Christian, he also kind of had some really crappy quarterback play as well. He had the Eli Manning and Peyton Manning, and they both sucked it up. He also lost Des Bryant and Deshaun Jackson for the next few weeks at least, so that's going to be tough. He got 18.8 points from Jamal Charles, who was his leading scorer. Justin Forsett kind of had a rough week. Rashad Jennings looked okay at times. Alshon Jeffrey did play, and he got him some points. Andre Johnson looked kind of old out there, so that might be rough. His tight ends looked okay. He had 9 points and 12 points from his two tight ends, Jordan Cameron and Heath Miller. Um, those are pretty good points for two tight ends that didn't get touchdowns. Larry Fitzgerald, Darren McFadden, and Percy Harvin were his flex plays, and those were solid. Darren McFadden looked like crap, but Fitzgerald and Percy Harvin had a really good week. Um, on defense, Marcus Peters from Kansas City, I believe, got him 17 points, and then Justin Tuck got him 16. So those are two good plays on defense. I believe your punter didn't get you anything. I don't know. Like a lot of people in the league had like punters get them zeros. I don't know if they just like picked the wrong punter on the team. I think my punter got me 9 points. That was cool. It doesn't really matter. Josh Kobe missed those 2 field goals on Thursday night. That was kind of rough. But you had Carpenter on your bench. But other than that, your bench really didn't do much else. You have Ronnie Hillman on your bench. Maybe he can emerge if C.J. Anderson can't keep the job. I'm pretty sure he got banged up. I don't remember what injury he had, but I think he got taken out. So we'll see. We'll follow that. But your redemption for this week is going to be if you can get Peyton Manning going against Kansas City as well. I think Peyton has the weapons, Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. I don't know about his tight end situation, But I mean, it is Peyton Manning. Hopefully, he can get it going this week. So yeah, Cody won that 235 to 218. So our next matchup, we had the Dimsdale Moist Pigeons ran by Cameron against Team Opium, which is ran by Ben. Um, Let me see what the score was. Yeah, the Moist Pigeons won 302 to 242. Um, and let's see here. Now, Cameron's team had some solid quarterback play. He had Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. They both put up some, pretty good points. He also had Joik Bell, Kyrie Robinson, and Mark Ingram. Now, his running backs look really weak. I know he's got C.J. Spiller on your bench. Um, but, yeah, Kyrie Robinson's not going to do that again. I don't think Joik Bell does anything this season. Abdullah looked really good. Uh, and yeah, Mark Ingram actually had a good game though, so that was good for him. Now your wide receivers had a pretty solid week. Well, Keenan Allen and Pierre Garcon had good weeks. Anquan Bolden didn't look too good. Justin Hunter looked awful. You had Gronkowski and Bennett, so those are some really good tight ends. Nate Washington had a big day. Crabtree had an okay day, and so did Shorts. Um, Now on defense, you had Brandon Marshall and Paul Warlow get you 16 to 13 points. Um, Gould looked really good. Your kicker, he had three. He went 3 for 3 for his field goals, and he had 2 extra points. You also had 0 points from your punter, and then you started Jason Pierre-Paul, which I would definitely either drop him or try to trade him or get someone else. So um, Jordan Reed looked pretty good on your bench, and so did Tyrod Taylor and Nick Foles. Maybe you can use those as trade bait to get a defensive end. But your redemption this week is going to be your running backs because I think you really need to make some moves. I don't really like your running backs at all. I think you could potentially have the worst running backs of the whole league outside of Mark Ingram. He looked good, but Kyrie Robinson, C.J. Spiller, and Joik Bell not looking good. You also had 3 wide receivers. You started your flex. You didn't have any running backs in there. So I'll try to get some depth. Team Opium, Ben Gomez. Yeah, Russell Wilson and Cam Newton. 2 quarterbacks who I'm not super fond of, but I can see why you'd want them for the rushing yards. Lynch looked good. DeMarco Murray looked really bad. At one point, he had 4 carries for -4 yards, and then he had like an 8-yard scamper for a touchdown. I know he had 2 total touchdowns, and he ended up getting 16 points. So I mean that's good, but like he didn't look good. Darren Sproles was the guy they're using to pass and run a lot. So I don't know about DeMarco Murray. I think that might end up just being who's hot each week. So you got Ryan Matthews and Sproles there too, so that's something to watch out for. Marshall and Edelman both look good. The number 1 wide receivers on their teams respectively. Ruben Randall had a rough day against a very poor Cowboys defense. I own Ruben Randall in another league, and he burned me, so that sucks. Kendall Wright had a huge day. Jason Witten and Delaney Walker showed up too. Jason Witten's going to look good with Des Bryant being out. Doug Baldwin had an okay day. I saw Javorius Allen got some touches in there because Forsett wasn't really doing a whole lot. On defense, you had Navarro Bowman got you 10 points, and Charles Woodson and James Laurinaitis both got you 7. So those are some good defensive plays. Justin Tucker, your kicker, got you 10, and then I believe it's Sean Weatherford, your punter, isn't even on the Giants anymore, so you might want to fix that. Yeah, he doesn't even play for an NFL team, so he's not going to get you any points. I think your redemption this week is going to be your defense and Cam Newton. If Cam can really get it going, I was at the game Sunday in Jacksonville when Carolina took on the Jags. Cam didn't really look that good, even though they won. He doesn't really have a good wide receiver core this year. Kelvin Benjamin being out, Devin Funches was a little banged up. He's pretty much throwing to Jericho Cotchery, Corey Brown, and Ted Ginn Jr. So I think I just picked up Ted Ginn today. But yeah, you had to keep Talib. You got a pick 6 on your bench, so that sucked. Those would have been some good points. Then you had Stevie Johnson and Billy Cunningham. Both had big weeks. So we'll see if Trey Mason plays this week. Maybe Cunningham is in tune for another big game. But yeah, Dimsdale Moist Pigeons 302, Team Opium 242. So now we're going on to our third matchup. And we had the Taco Core, which is Brendan's team, against the team up north, ran by Kyle. Brendan had Rivers and Ryan. They both looked pretty solid. And then he had Adrian Peterson, Andre Ellington, and Isaiah Crowell were his 3 starting running backs. I don't like your running backs. Maybe AP just had a rough week against San Francisco. Could be wrong, but he did not look good at all. I don't know about Crowell this year. I'm going to be honest. I think Duke Johnson might get some touches. I know he didn't really do anything this week, but Crowell did not look good at all. And then Andre Ellington's going to be out for a few weeks, I hear. So that's going to be rough. You had Calvin Johnson, Sammy Watkins, and Charles Johnson as your wide receivers, and none of those guys looked good. And then you also had Roddy White. He had an okay day, but everyone else looked absolutely awful. Sammy Watkins didn't even get a catch, so that sucks. Um, you have the right tight end to own in Indianapolis, I believe, in Dwayne Allen. He did catch that touchdown. And then you had Vernon Davis, who actually looked pretty young and fast out there. I saw him like taking on corners, and he looked good in the Monday night game. But it's just going to be hard to trust Kaepernick. So you had Giovanni Bernard, Shane Vereen, and Darren Sproles and your flex. I think that's my second favorite flex behind I believe it's Nico's team. Yeah, I really like your running backs here. They all catch the ball well. It's a half point per reception league, so that's going to be good. Sproles looked good. Vereen looked okay. I think he'll get some more opportunities later on in the year. And then Giovanni Bernard got 11.8 points in a blowout against Oakland, so that's cool. You took J.J. Watt with in like the fifth or sixth round, I believe, and he ended up being your leading scorer actually for your whole team this week. He had 23 points, 9 total tackles, and 2 sacks, so that's good. You also have Puslesny have 9 tackles and an interception against an awful Cam Newton. Um, yeah, but let's see here. You Blair Walsh, he went 1 for 5, and then they were going to try for another field goal at the half, and they just didn't trust him. And then your punter got you 5 points, so good thing you started a punter that actually got you some points. On your bench, you had Marquise Wilson and Ryan Mallett. They both looked okay, I think. But your redemption this week is if you can get your wide receivers to bounce back. That's going to be tough. Calvin Johnson's still one of the best in the league, and I think Charles Johnson's a very good young talent, as well as Sammy Watkins, but they just had rough weeks, so hopefully, you can get that going. And then we have Kyle's team. He had Andrew Luck and Ben Roethlisberger. I told Kyle at the beginning of the season I thought he had the best quarterbacks, but then with Tom Brady's suspension being lifted, I think Cameron might have the best quarterbacks with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. But Kyle still has 2 really good quarterbacks in Andrew Luck and Ben Roethlisberger. They looked okay. Both had 18 points. And then Kyle had some weak running back play. He got 10.2 from McCoy, and then 8 from Lamar Miller, and 4.1 from Frank Gore. Frank Gore in his defense had a rough matchup against the Buffalo Bills, ran by Rex Ryan now. But then Lamar Miller, he looked okay, but they didn't really call a whole lot of plays for him. Jeremy Maclin had a solid day. Decker got a touchdown. James Jones had a huge day. That was cool for you. I told you not to start him, but you did, so good job. And then Randall Cobb had 5 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown. Travis Kelce had a huge day. I think Travis Kelce is the best tight end in fantasy football this year besides Gronkowski, so that's cool. Kyle Rudolph, whoever, let it rock. 7.8 points. Alfred Blue got you 5.4. Terrence Williams, you have Terrence Williams and Deion Lewis were your other 2 flex plays. They both had pretty solid days. Terrence Williams is going to have some good games now that Des Bryant's out. On your bench or on your defense, you had C.J. Mosley had 6 tackles and 2 sacks, and then you had Tyrann Mathieu got you 16 points. So you had some strong defensive plays. I'm not a big fan of your bench. I don't like Colston or Floyd at all this year. But you have Weddle and Kendricks get you 13 and 10 points on your bench, and maybe get them into your starting defensive lineup. Alex Smith looked okay, but I don't think Greg Jennings, Rivera, or well, that's it. Or James Starks really do anything this season unless there's like something crazy happens, an injury or something. But Kyle, your redemption this week is if you can get your running backs going. They all had kind of okay weak performances, so I think Frank Gore, Lamar Miller, and McCoy could actually be a really good group of running backs, but I don't know. I didn't see it this past week, so hopefully that'll turn around. So and the score was Kyle beat Brendan 270 to 245. So we have our 4th matchup here, which is War Daddies, ran by Dakota, and then Team Reno. Dakota had Drew Brees and Andy Dalton, both looked pretty solid. And then he had Eddie Lacy and D'Angelo Williams both looked really good. Doug Martin did not look good, however. So maybe that offensive line just looks like crap. Maybe they can do something about that. I don't know, though. A.J. Green, Vincent Jackson, Devontae Adams, and Steve Smith were your starting 4 wide receivers. Those are all really good names, really good players. They did not have good weeks, though. Your leading scorer was A.J. Green. He had 5 catches on 63 yards. So just needs to get in the end zone. Hopefully Tyler Eifert doesn't bump into his value too much. You had Jimmy Graham get you 6 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown. That looked pretty cool. And then I think you have the wrong tight end to own in Indianapolis. You have Fleener, the other guy. He did get that 2-point conversion, but besides that, he had a catch for 5 yards. So that's kind of rough. Your flexes were Kenny Stills, Charles Sims, and Andre Williams. And like I said, unless there's an injury, I don't think any of those guys are going to really be anything. On defense, you had Johnson from Kansas City got you 15 points, so that was good. And then Antoine Bethea from the safety from San Francisco got you 13. Hauschka got you 11, but your punter didn't get you anything. On your bench, you got Trey Mason and Parker from Miami, the wide receiver, Devontae Parker. I think both of those guys could be good in the next couple of weeks. Maybe not right away, but I think they'll work their role in. Definitely until, Todd Gurley gets back. Trey Mason will be good if he can stay healthy. And then I think Parker's going to be their big red zone go-to wide receiver. It's not going to be Greg Jennings, and it probably might not even be Jordan Cameron. So Matt Bryant got you 17 points on your bench. He looked good. You got Antonio Gates down there, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Kirk Cousins. So yeah, you got some depth down there on your bench. You have, I think, 2 kickers on your bench though, so I would drop them, maybe try to pick someone up or trade or something. Your redemption this week is just so you get your wide receivers going, because those are all good guys. I don't know if it was just matchups or first game jitters, but none of them really looked too solid. And then you played Team Reno. He had some guys really go off. I think Nico might actually have the best team in the whole league. Carson Palmer had a huge day. Matt Forte had a huge day. Alfred Morris looked solid. Stewart looked okay. Antonio Brown went off. Emmanuel Sanders looked all right. And DeAndre Hopkins surprised everyone. I mean, we all thought he was going to be good, but he exploded. Mike Wallace still had a good day. Zach Ertz and Larry Donnell are okay tight ends. Joseph Randall, Chris Ivory, and Denny Woodhead, those are the best flexes in the whole league. All of those guys are, involved with the passing game. Maybe not Randall so much, but he's a starting running back. And then Ivory and Woodhead are just, Chris Ivory had a huge game. He almost had 3 touchdowns. Danny Woodhead had 2. He exploded, when was catching the ball. So, yeah, I really like your flexes. I think you might have the best team. The only issue with your team is that you just didn't have anyone on defense. You started 3 players, got you 0 points, and 1 guy got you 1 point. So, you had Calais Campbell got you 8, and then your next highest scorer was Griffin. No, excuse me, Jackson. From Indianapolis, he got you 11. So yeah, I would definitely just work the waiver wire and try to pick some guys up. You have LeGarrette Blount on your bench, Ryan Matthews on your bench, Torrey Smith, Latimer, Dante Moncrief, Marvin Jones. You also have 2 kickers, but you have Charles Clay down there. So I think your team actually could be really good. You just got to get some defensive guys to get you some points, get a punter. It's going to get you some points, and I think you might end up having the best team right now. So. And then the final matchup, the Abdullah Express versus Giovanni's Rockets. That was me versus Johnny. I ended up, Team Reno ended up beating Dakota 271 to 207. But yeah, I ended up beating Johnny 305 to 283. Johnny tried coming back on me on Monday night. He had Julio Jones and Carlos Hyde both looked really, really good. So that's going to be scary. But he had some kind of poor play from his quarterbacks, 12 points from Tannehill and then 13 from Stafford. So those guys are, could end up having really big weeks, but they also could have, really crappy weeks. You had Duke Johnson and Melvin Gordon as your other 2 starting running backs, and I don't like either of them this year. They're rookies. I get it's a dynasty league, maybe one day, but I'm not seeing it this season. Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, John Brown were your other 3 wide receivers. John Brown looked good. Cooper looked okay. Robinson didn't. He had some drops. He was getting, covered pretty well. You had Tyler Eifert go off. He had 104 yards, 9 catches, 2 touchdowns. Greg Olsen actually had a touchdown negated in the Jacksonville game for offensive pass interference, but Greg Olsen, he'll bounce back. I think he might have the 2 best tight ends in the league. Eddie Royal had a very disappointing day. They thought he might have had a concussion along with his hip injury that he's been hampering coming up into the week. Lockett got that return touchdown for you, so that was cool. Aaron Donald looked awesome against Seattle. So this is his 2nd year in the league. I think he might be one of the premier defensive tackles, up there with like Sue and guys like that. So also had Muhammad Wilkerson get you 10 points, and then Adam Pac-Man Jones. I tried picking him up off waivers, but you got him before me. He got you 16, so that's cool. Bullock and Bosher both got you 7 and 8 points. So that's good to get some special teams play. Your redemption this week, though, is just if you can get some some more running backs, or I guess you're just gonna have to wait that out with Melvin Gordon and Duke Johnson. I think they could be really good guys one day. I'm just not seeing it this season with Crowell and Woodhead being there. I think that they just rely on them. Maybe try to trade out Robinson for a better wide receiver. I'm not gonna talk about my team a whole lot. I had Tony Romo kind of do his thing in that bull crap comeback game Sunday. Abdullah looked awesome. Jeremy Hill looked good. Demaryius Thomas and T.Y. Hilton both got a little banged up. We'll see. Jordan Matthews had a solid outing, and then I got really lucky starting Safarian Jenkins while Julius Thomas is out. I think I either just dropped or I'm trying to drop Josh Hill. He didn't even get a target, so screw him. I'm done. Coleman ended up getting a touchdown, and then I've got Dorsett and David Johnson got a really lucky 55-yard catch right there at the end of the game for a game-winning touchdown. So I got 9 points from both my special teams guys, my kicker and my punter. Just still waiting on Kevin White and Aaron Foster to get healthy. I got Martavis Bryant still waiting with his suspension. Probably going to start Jared Cook this week. So yeah, I guess my redemption would just be to hurry up and get my players back out there, Foster and Martavis Bryant. Other than that, I was leading scorer and I whooped up on Johnny. So, all right, guys. Well, this is week 1 of Trent's Takes. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry this didn't get posted until just now. I tried posting it yesterday, but my computer was stuck in and I had to go to work. So I'll be doing this. I'll post it every Tuesday morning or early afternoon, so you guys can give you some insight before the waiver wire picks go in. So thanks a lot, and good luck to everyone this week. See ya.